let's talk about a single, narrow stretch of water that's pretty much become ground zero for a global economic crisis. It's the Strait of Hormuz. And what's happening there right now is starting to affect the price of, well, everything, from the gas you put in your car to the food on your table. To really get a sense of this, just look at a simple shipment of Austrian timber. Getting this wood to a construction site in Qatar, it used to be completely routine. Now it's this agonizing, months-long detour. The supplier quoted here says the cost has more than tripled. We're talking an extra thousands of dollars for every single container.
And that really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? How can a conflict in one part of the world create this massive shockwave that you literally feel at the cash register, no matter where you happen to live? Well, the answer is all about the geography of global trade, in a place that's become maybe the most critical choke point on Earth.
Okay, so let's zoom in. To really understand this whole crisis, you first have to understand the place at the center of it all, the Strait of Hormuz itself.
You know, the best way to think about it is like this. If the global economy had a body, the Strait of Hormuz would be one of its most critical arteries. It's this tiny passage connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, and an absolutely incredible amount of the world's resources flows right through it.
And here's the one number that tells you everything you need to know about its importance: 20%. Just let that sink in. 1/5 of all the oil and natural gas the entire world uses passes through this one little spot every single day. So yeah, when this artery gets clogged, the whole system feels it almost immediately. There's a name for places like this. Experts call it a maritime choke point. It's basically any narrow channel that's so important to shipping routes that if something goes wrong there, it creates a huge, outsized problem for global trade. And you could easily argue that Hormuz is the most important one on the planet.
And that big problem, that disruption, it's exactly what's happening right now. Before all this, you'd see more than 130 ships pass through the strait every day. Now, it's down to a trickle. That artery isn't just clogged, it's nearly shut down completely.
So how did we get here? How did this absolutely vital shipping lane suddenly become a military flashpoint? Well, it all spiraled from a political dispute into a full-blown blockade. And things escalated incredibly fast. It all kicked off with military action from the US and Israel against Iran back in February. Any hope for a quick solution pretty much died when peace talks in Pakistan fell apart in mid-April. Then, just 2 days after that, the US Navy put a full blockade on Iranian ports. And now, we're watching the clock tick down on a very fragile 2-week ceasefire. From the American point of view, the blockade is doing exactly what it was meant to do. U.S. Central Command came right out and said it had effectively cut off all of Iran's trade by sea, turning away any ship trying to get in or out of Iranian ports.
Iran's response was, as you can probably guess, immediate and furious. Their military called the blockade an act of piracy and fired back with a massive counter-threat. They basically said, if our ships can't sail, nobody's ships can. They warned they'd stop trade in over-key waterways like the Red Sea, which would just make this crisis even bigger.
So this military standoff didn't stay a regional issue for long, not by a long shot. The fight in the Gulf sent an immediate shockwave rippling through the entire global economy, and you can see the effects pretty much everywhere. And here, you can see what that shockwave looks like in cold, hard numbers. Let's go back to that Austrian timber shipment. What used to be a 45-day journey is now a 3 to 4 month ordeal. The cost has exploded by over 300%, adding that $3,600 surcharge to every single container. This isn't an abstract economic theory. This is a real, tangible, and very expensive delay. Of course, the most immediate hit was to energy markets. I mean, when 20% of the world's oil is suddenly at risk, the price of crude is going to jump. It shot up to around $96 a barrel, and that increase gets passed right down to us every time we fill up our cars. But this goes way beyond just fuel. You've got countries like Japan and South Korea who are super reliant on these shipping lanes, scrambling to find emergency energy supplies. In the region itself, prices for food and basic goods are up 5 to 10%. And even critical supply chains for things we all need, like medicine, are in total chaos. All of this brings us to the really urgent question: what happens next? Right now, the entire world is watching this incredibly high-stakes game of diplomatic chess, with the stability of the entire global economy just hanging in the balance. So what's the holdup? Why can't they make a deal? Well, the talks broke down over two huge fundamental demands. The US is demanding a 20-year stop to all of Iran's nuclear activities, and Iran is saying, fine, but you have to release over $100 billion of our assets that are frozen in foreign banks.
And unfreezing that money is not simple. It's not all sitting in one vault somewhere. These assets are spread out all over the world. China's holding about 20 billion, with a lot more in India, Iraq, Qatar, you name it. To fix this, you need a whole lot of countries to all get on the same page, which is easier said than done.
The regional politics also make things incredibly complex. I mean, just look at Pakistan. They're trying to be the neutral mediator hosting the peace talks. But at the exact same time, they're sending their military to support their major ally, Saudi Arabia. That is a very, very delicate balancing act.
And so that's where things stand. The ceasefire is about to expire, the blockade is still up, and the economic damage is getting worse every single day. It all comes down to this one critical question. With so much at stake for all of us, can diplomacy somehow break this dangerous deadlock before the world's most vital economic artery gets severed for good?